That's not going to help a lot of people.
Not at all. And speaking of up in the Los Angeles area, hey, John, how are you? We know that you are up in that area. Can you give us an update?
Well, the only thing I can say for sure is that I know my brother-in-law. He had a house in Pacific Palisades. As far as he's been able to find out, his house did survive. But the folks that live there are still not allowed to go back in because search and rescue efforts are still going on. And they just can't compromise that. And so basically hurry, basically you just have to kind of wait until you get permission to go back to your own property. One thing I wanted to mention is that I am not in LA today. I'm in Salt Lake City, Utah. And yeah, you guessed it, I'm at a hockey tournament. So I'm about to leave to go to the rink. So I just wanted to say hello. Hope you guys have a good call. And hell yeah, no enemy fire here in Salt Lake City. The mountains are covered with snow. I got a doorknob inside. The hotel rooms have doorknobs on the inside of the door. So I'm a 10. Have a good.
Very good.
Hey, John, before you go, I went to a fight the other day and a hockey game broke out.
You got that right. That's exactly right.
Went to a game in a hockey.
Yeah. We're gonna go to the rink and hope a hockey game breaks out in the middle of the fight as well. All right, guys.
Very good. Now the Dream Center is still very much part of the disaster relief, and I saw a TV commercial the other day for the Dream Center accepting donations, volunteers. Also, on the news last night, because on a hillside where the fire department put so much water in there was a house that survived. Actually, the mud slid down and broke the house in half. So if we get a lot of rain this winter, part 2 is not going to be pretty either. If you start getting mudslides, they take houses out instantly.
It's hard to plan for Mother Nature. I mean, despite whatever you do, you don't have a big enough budget. You don't have all the resources, all the people, and no one could have predicted the winds would be as powerful as they are, and just coming back to back to back to back to back. Like it's just incredible, But again, I think the one thing that can really keep us all afloat is our ability to just have faith and believe in each other and support one another. That's the best thing that we can do under these circumstances. Pete, go ahead.
I'm going to simplify it. I believe Mother Nature needs to work better with Father Time so that outcomes are better, less expensive in disasters. And, if Mother Nature works better with Father Time, close the gap in how long it takes and make it happen.
Thanks, Pete. Let's kind of bounce it back over to Rich. So, Rich, you want to go ahead and start with the check-in?
Yeah, let's do that. And I'm going to pull up my chart because I have Can you see my screen?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like you're looking at an adaptation there.
I wanted to share with you some of the different applications of the Life Wheel check-in.
Yeah.
And this is one that we actually do in a handout, and Lee and I have taken it to different job fairs and career fairs and things like that. And it makes it a diagnostic that people can fill out or take home. So you can see the life wheel on the left. And this was an updated one. You can customize these sections. Like here, I thought one day, what about me time and recharge time? People are so stressed out these days. Let's try out a section with me time and things like that. But you just ask someone, you say, consider these areas of your life. And then we have instructions, place a dot with your current level of satisfaction. And then if you had a dot in each of those slices, then you connect them, around the circle, and it starts looking like a little spider web. And then you can say, where would I like to be on this section? Then you put a second dot, either towards the 0 or towards the 10. And then you can connect where you want to be on a dot. Then you have this diagram. You have current state and future state, and you can color in between the dots, and it shows you which ones you want to make more progress, less progress. And it helps you then to put your kind of like your action plans together. And then at the bottom, we just said, hey, my purpose in life is, because this is what we like to ask people when they walk past the table and they kind of look at you with glazed over eyes, haven't really thought about that. So we've had people come by, we've had individuals fill this out, and then 10 minutes later, they come back with their wife or their kids and they say, can we have more? This really connects with people. It's what we do every week, but here's a look at it as a diagnostic. So let's go ahead and check in. I'm checking in at a 9 today, only because I wish it was a little warmer. But the sun is peeking out, and after the call, I will be at 10. And good things are happening with Reboot, and I'm hopeful that the fires, I see a lot of people pitching in and a lot of people rallying around that makes me feel good, because this is about feelings, and that's what I am. Let's go to Charlie.
Yeah, 10.
All right. Ron.
Looks
Mr.
like
Ron.
Looks like Ron. Here he is. Okay.
Yeah, I had to unmute my mic, and I accidentally hit the leave the meeting button. So I guess that means I'm about a 6. No, I really believe probably around a 9 for preparedness and readiness for the day. There's a lot going on right now. I mean, just a lot going on. I mean, we had a good week after our during and after our January 10th SDVC meeting. So externally, that world is pretty top of the marks. I would say probably a 10. So, but for me, it's hard to feel great when other people are feeling lousy,
Right.
and that's what's going on right now. So I'll say for me personally, a 7 right now.
Okay. How would you say you're doing with me time and recharge time?
I would say probably about an 8 or a 9.
That's good.
Yeah, because I really do spend a lot of time away from it. That it, because that it can have an influence on up or down. So
Yeah,
me time's good.
I'd say I'm a 7.5 on that. David, good morning.
Good morning. I'm gonna check in at 9 this morning. I'll put my me time at 9 also.
All right, very good. Pete.
I would say at 10. I'm respectful and heartbroken about what's going on in LA. No questions asked about there. But if you look at my life wheel, I love it, but I want a little bit further. Oh boy, I hope it for Pete's sake. In that in the center, I form a circle where it says my life wheel. And I think I've shared this with Maurice and, Rich, and that is a 10, because the 10 pans out to all of the, other health, work, education. And if you're a 10, it'll emanate in all of those fields. I believe that's my personal experience, but I will say I'm a 10 and a frequency 528, which is love.
Very good. Thank you. Who else is on the call? I don't see the faces right now.
Oh, we got, let's see, Yogi, and we got Keith.
Okay,
So
Yogi.
Let's start with Keith. Keith, you want to go ahead and jump on in?
Sure. I'm at a 10. Life as well. I mean, that's got things to do. I'm probably at the power curve, not behind it, so right where I need to be at. But I could stand to move a little faster, but I'm at a 10.
What's your me time recharge time?
My me time recharge time?
Me time recharge. What's your number on that little slice?
I'm not sure. When we say me time recharge, what exactly are we saying?
Self-care.
Oh, that's a 10.
Reduction. Okay.
Oh yeah, I'm a 10 on self-care.
All right, Yogi.
I need to improve.
Yeah. Okay.
I need to get to 11, but I'm at 10.
All right, very good, Yogi.
Good morning, everybody. I am self-care. I think a good 7 or 8. I could always get better. I push myself sometimes a little too much. I'm currently doing at my solid 9. Happy to be here. I'm still in Houston. I will be coming back to San Diego tomorrow. excited for everything that I've accomplished, and then to get back to making a whole bunch of projects. I want to share with the group that I'm passing my first resolution with with the veteran caucus of the community colleges, and is to install a permanent representative on the student councils across all colleges, to make sure that the voices of the veterans are being um, held and heard by the actual students. Uh, and then not just the veteran services centers that are the state pays for, but that doesn't mean that just because they're being paid for, they're being actually administered the right way. So we're passing um, that bill, and with that bill, there's also going to be a separate motion that we're passing that is going to be for students and faculty to get properly trained by for and how to deal with veterans and what the veterans deserve. So great things moving forward. So I just wanted to share that.
Are you doing that with the National Veteran Student Association?
No, I'm doing that with the San Diego a Student Senate of Community Colleges of California.
Okay.
And then from there, we're gonna move it to. I'm also joining the National Student Services, Veteran Services.
Yes.
But primarily starting with California and then moving statewide. I already have a. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, that sounds great, because you have local, state, you have national student, and I have no doubt that you're going to be successful with that. And then we would love to contribute to whatever the needs, the curriculum, and so forth is.
That was already on my mind. That's also why I'm sharing. I didn't ask permission. I asked for forgiveness of including you without letting you know I was including you in my thoughts.
No problem. Go reboot.
Go reboot.
Who's next?
Hey, I think I'm last, and just to kind of dovetail on this discussion, yesterday, it's so interesting how the world works and how things evolve. I was on a conversation with one of the companies, an EY company, and talking about what we're doing and how we support veterans. And guess what organization they brought up? Student Veterans of America.
There you go.
And they just recently had their annual conference in DC. And guess what their perplexity is, their challenge? Their challenge is, and first and foremost, you know how large the membership is. I think they've toppled 1 million members or something like that. So, you know, when you're that large, Congress and others have a tendency to take you seriously. But one of the challenges that they're having academically and otherwise is the veterans that are in college finding their purpose. And so it was a big dilemma. You know, they discussed, you know, who's taking what, who's doing what. And roughly only about 30% of the veterans in college that are taking courses that lead to meaningful employment, you know, technology, things of that nature that pay a livable wage. Others are just taking college just to take college because they were told to take college.
That's right.
They're not purpose driven. You know, they're just, hey,
Yeah.
I'm just doing it just to get a paycheck.
Yeah.
Got a couple of hands up. Yogi, go ahead.
So to also voice on what you're saying, my personal experience has been that the majority of the veterans that are taking classes, they're going in with that one degree, whatever degree they have in mind that they heard from somebody somewhere that pays well. They don't, just like you mentioned, they don't really care what the degree is as long as it pays the bills. But primarily, the primary driver is just the receiving of the BAH. That's the biggest driver that, you know, has driven any, or not any, but a whole bunch of the veterans that are taking college, which is scary because they do lose a lot of money, especially after school, and then they're not able to find meaningful employment afterwards.
Or they exhaust the resources available to them in the benefit, you know, just for subsistence. And then later on down the road in life, when they finally decide what it is they want to do, i.e. get purpose, then it's like, oh, you know, I want to get training, but then they've run out of money. Now they got to go somewhere else to find the funds. Ron, go ahead.
That phenomenon is not entirely monopolized by veterans. That is students across the country who go through. I mean, it's amazing how many people do not work in their chosen degree after college and university. They get the degree thinking it's going to lead somewhere, get a little disgruntled, move along, find a job that makes them happy. I will say to the benefit though, I'm sure most of you know that it was just passed into law combining benefits across post 9/11 and Montgomery GI Bill. So if a veteran exhausts all their uh, uh, had exhausted all of their Montgomery GI Bill and it was still in during 9/11, post 9/11, they can get some additional benefit in education or vice versa. If they used all of their post 9/11 GI Bill, there's still some Montgomery Bill GI Bill their money there. I would say go to your VA regional office, your benefits coordinators, and figure that out. So it's just it. I mean, my son was in before 9/11 and after. He used the post 9/11 GI Bill and was close to a master's degree. I think about 4 or 5 units off, and just bailed because he didn't have the money to keep going for it, and or didn't take the money. He was busy then working and earning a living because that BAS was gone. So now he had to make up that in income, and so he might be able to get about an extra 6 months of Montgomery GI Bill to finish out his master's degree.
Right. And to your point, Ron and Yogi, according to Gallup, the big survey consulting company, over 70% of the American workforce is dissatisfied with their job. And if they had another one offered to them that they felt was better, they would take it. And also less than 13% of the surveyed workforce say that they're using their gifts and talents to their fullest in their job.
So Yogi's got his hand up, and then Ron.
So that is fascinating to hear, population-wise. And then also, I wanted to add to what Ron was saying about not only the GI Bill, but also the VRNE and how the program works. And a lot of veterans don't know that they can use, especially like in California, that you can use the vet, what's it called, vet cal, without having to use your GI Bill to do primary, the first 2 years, I think, of college paid, and then afterwards you could start using your actual GI Bill.
Yep.
That's pretty much worth looking into. Ron, go ahead.
Yeah, I did my master's project on turnover in our company at less than under 3 years. We believed that was my MBA project, and I did a lot of research, did a survey on my own of about 400 people in our company, and then did the research, and it boiled down to three things when people leave a company or leave employment. They're either satisfied with their job and found something that they thought that appeals better, or they're somewhat discontent and find something that looks better, or they're so discontent that they walk away because they're just so discontent. And so those are really the three main reasons why people leave their job. The one that's is the most compelling to me is around contentment and some discontentment and very large scale discontentment, because those are the drivers of people leaving a particular job.
Yeah, what some other surveys say is that most people don't necessarily leave the job; they leave the people. They're pretty much dissatisfied with the culture, the conditions. They got there because they think they can manifest their skills. But if the corporate culture is not one that promotes that, and also games and things of that nature, it's a big turnoff. Let me just kind of go ahead, Ron.
So I left one job, and somebody says, "Why did you quit?" I said, "I didn't quit. I fired my boss."
Well, that's I love that Ron humor. So just to kind of go back to the SVA, interestingly though, at the end of the conversation I had yesterday with the folks at EY, they concluded that there seems to be a really good fit between what we're doing and what the Student Veterans of America is doing, and so they promised to set up a meeting sometime next week with us to see if they could broker a relationship so they can hear what we're doing, because again, our focus is on purpose.
Excellent.
Where others are focused on workforce and academics, and that matters, because
Right.
again, it sort of makes the thing of workforce more of a higher priority than job place satisfaction, because they're just concerned mostly about industry, but industry doesn't really care about the worker, but the worker cares more about themselves. You see the issue there.
Yeah.
So we'll see where that goes.
And we've also been discovering, Yogi, and we've been having a lot of discussions as Maurice is working also with the community college and university level, that the mindset of universities has been to focus on theory and information and knowledge. So that's good, but we also focus on application and plans and moving forward. So that's something that we have that we can enhance their current mental model. They may not be aware of that. So you may get a little bit of a different reception from the Student Veterans Committee, which I'm sure will be all for application and action planning. In the university, you may have to do a little education, but we should work together and not against each other. So I'm just going to leave that for now.
Yeah, Pete's got his hand up.
About, I don't know, 5 years ago, we tried to get them on board as one of our providers for SDVC. I cannot emphasize enough, really, if you just take a perspective like one of our fellow Navy veterans that's working for a cybersecurity company right now, very motivated, and that is the University of People. Yes, 100% online tuition, and they have, they have the degrees in some of the most lucrative fields, but you do it designed to fit your life. Please take a look at it. Shoot me down if you want to, that's fine. But even Simone Biles studied there and went on to another university. We owe it to know what's available at any given time so that we benefit, the veterans benefit. And I do encourage everyone on the meeting today to check out the University of People.
Thank you, Pete. And I'm going to go ahead and check in. So I'm going to check in at a 10. I had a very interesting week. I spent a few days in Tucson, Arizona with the Serato Corporation. They operate several job corps across the country, training youth in terms of finding, their careers. And we brought up purpose a lot. One of the big issues that they're facing, which is similar to what we're talking about with veterans, is that their graduation rate and success levels of at 50% or less, even though they enroll at a high rate, the completion rate seems to wane down, because as the young people get into the training, they begin to realize that the training is not them. It's not something they can see themselves doing forever, and so their drop-off rate is pretty high. While I was there, I shared the life balance wheel with them, and I did something really I thought very interesting, and I'll share this at another time once I complete the project. But I looked at the whole life balance wheel assessment as a diagnostics tool, and I went to, now here it comes, I went to AI, and I said, create an app that tracks and monitors that. And it actually wrote the code. It was amazing. I was sitting there watching it as it wrote the code and said, okay, here it is. And tell me if there's anything else you want to have done. And then I'll show you how to upload this and make it live. And so, eventually, hopefully I'll be able to show you guys what it looks like when it's done. But AI is coming. It's pretty doggone amazing. And again, in the context of this discussion, while we're talking about people and academics and purpose, we also have to, and I'm going to thank Pete for introducing me to Kai Kai-Fu Lee, and I've been tracking him and his philosophy over the past several months as he looks at how AI is going to shape our future and shape the future of the workplace. And he's actually set a calendar where he says by certain years, by 2026 and 2027, he's even scoped out what jobs and what roles and what positions will be eliminated by AI and overtaken or transformed into something else. And so it's worth kind of keeping up with that, because one of the things we don't want people to do is get caught with their pants down in 2 or 3 years. And so if ever was a time to start learning how to use this AI stuff, now really is the time. So back over to you, Rich.
All right, excellent. So Maurice, I always say you're the hardest working man in the veteran ecosystem. Like they said that James Brown was the hardest working man in show business. So I call Maurice the James Brown of the veteran ecosystem. The me time, recharge time. How are you doing with that reflection, mindfulness, introspection? How are you doing with that one?
I'm gonna say Papa's got a brand new bag. Pretty good. When it comes, I gave a presentation about the life balance wheel to about 60 people that were attending this conference. And when I started, I explained what the life balance wheel is, and then I explained me, where I'm at. And I knew that it was going to create some disbelief in some people. Nobody's always happy. Nobody's always a 10. And what I explained to them, I said, see, you guys don't understand. If I say I'm a 10, that's really my daily aspiration. Okay, that's the marker that I'm going to set. That's the goal that I plan to attain. Now, my goal is to always make sure that I measure up and live up to it. So it's a 10, Rich.
Very good.
I challenged life and fate to drag me down, but that's going to be a big bloody battle because I'm not going to give up easily.
That sounds good. Fantastic. We got everyone?
I think we do.
Okay.
It looks like Yogi's got his hand up and Pete's got his hand up. So let's go with Yogi first and then Pete.
So I would like to commend you for that mindset mentality. Also, on my journeys and experience, I would like to share with everybody that I just started a CPT, cognitive processing therapy, via the VA, and it is very interesting, especially over the last 2.5 years. I've been going through a lot of therapies themselves, and meeting different providers, psychologists, psychiatrists, everything, right? And I do find that people love, just because they have a title, they think that they know a lot, but they really don't. And they lose touch on how to really talk and interact with people, especially people that are dealing with trauma. And then I didn't realize until yesterday that the psychologist that's supposed to be the expert on dealing with PTSD and trauma personnel from this intensive care actually accidentally set me or prepared me to go into a reaction like that. But I was able to not have to do or go into that cycle because of everything that I've been with you guys. So I want to say thank you. I am really happy to be here, and I'm grateful for y'all.
Thank you, Yogi.
Thank you, Pete. And then Maurice has a comment based upon Yogi.
Maurice, I believe I was the one that introduced you a couple of years back to the value, the content of what Kai-Fu Lee was getting at, and the roadmap is second to none. He's been there. He's seen how the world is. It's regardless that he's successful and knows his place in the world, but what we could extract from it and what you put up on the timeline is still true today, even though that was like 3 or 4 years ago. But I encourage all to get into or just check out Kai-Fu Lee, how AI is going to save humanity. Take from it what you will, throw out the rest. And I want to thank Maurice for picking up on the value of what Kai-Fu was saying all along. Thank you, Maurice.
You're welcome. And again, just to how they say full disclosure, I've actually converted it into a lesson that I'm actually teaching in what we call Reboot Light in day number 3. And so I have like a 1-hour presentation that walks them through the whole scenario, because veterans need to prepare for the future. And that's, again, if we're not preparing them for tomorrow, then we're not preparing them. And so the first phase really is opening their eyes. And then the second phase is to get them to prepare for the future. And they're in a perfect position. But I just wanted to respond to what Yogi had mentioned about the current state as far as the psychologists and the social workers and, everyone that's in the veteran space that's focusing on mental health services, cognitive behavior, whatever. The challenge that I see in working with some of these wonderful people, and I don't mean any disrespect to them at all, is that they have a problem with what we call seeing the cow. And if you remember, I know that Charlie Rich and Keith and others are really familiar with the cow exercise. Again, it's based upon being able to see what's really going on versus only seeing things through, let's say, the training that they were provided. And that's the issue. They only see what they were trained to see, but they may not necessarily see the whole full, real big picture. And that's one of the things that veterans are looking for, is someone that doesn't necessarily see them through a psychological or academic lens, but really see them as people who are really looking for guidance on how to transform and find purpose. And so, again, that's the essence, the quintessential essence of what we do in Reboot, is really help them find their purpose. Ron's got his hand up.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. You talked about CPT, Charlie Papa Tango, and which is not CBT, Charlie Bravo Tango. CPT is a little more thinking ahead of time, preparing ahead of time for what may come. CBT is taking a behavior which will disrupt your cognition a little bit. I will say though, with just about anything, what I'm selling is what you need. That's with a program, with a process, and people sell people on that they need what I'm selling. So I sell them on needing what I'm selling. And I find that true of just about anything. If I'm at university, people need education. So I'm going to sell them classes. My job is to sell them classes. My job isn't to follow their career the rest of their life. My job is to sell them what they want to buy. I have a store that has products that people want to buy. If it's aromatherapy, water therapy, CBT, CPT, and might I even say Reboot. What I'm selling is what people need, and I can't expect people to do otherwise. I can't expect people to do otherwise, because that is, in a sense, it's their vocation. But what we find is that if a different vocation comes up, people tend to shift their avocation, what they really align to. So if I'm selling cars for Ford, Ford's the best. If I'm selling cars, then I go to the Toyota lot because I left Ford. Now Toyotas are the best. And what I'm doing is the best. And I really find that we have a whole lot of salespeople in these programs and projects rather than live people, like Pete says, the university of people. If I'm selling, if I want to develop people, then I got to sell people development and personal development. I'll leave it at that.
All right, Yogi's got his hand up.
To Ron's point, I feel that if you have to sell someone something, you already failed. You shouldn't have to. People eventually regret what you sold them into versus if they sell themselves into whatever they want, right? If you say this is item A, item B, item C, this is what I like, this is what I do, how I've done it, and people like that, they'll sell themselves and they'll sell to others just by the share
Right.
experience, right? Versus having to sell someone something. I mean, I'm sure we've all experienced a used car salesman that forces whatever car down the road, and then you have buyer's remorse.
Yep. Okay, so can we move on with that?
Not yet.
Because we're getting into another topic. We're getting into sales.
Oh, I know. We got Ron's got his hand up,
Ron?
and then Pete's
Yeah,
got his hand up, and
just
then
so-
Maurice got his hand up.
15 seconds.
Excuse
Pete.
me. I thought Keith had a topic, and
does.
the time
Yes.
is 2:38.
All right.
Yeah.
So why don't we do this? So Pete and Ron, hold that thought, and let's kind of jump back over and get back on track again. Thank
Okay.
you for that.
All
And you
right.
know, let's all set a rule that when we feel like the conversation is going off track, let's give everyone, just like Charlie, permission to say, "Time out. Let's get back on track."
All right.
Okay, because
Okay.
everybody has passion and everybody wants to talk, but again, we got to stay focused. All right,
And
so-
it's fun. As fun as that is.
yes, it is.
So-
Go ahead.
Yeah, so we have Keith. He's going to start sharing today. And I say start because I sense that this is going to take a couple of weeks, especially with the timing now. But Keith will be sharing. So, Keith, if you could give us a update on what Destination 8000 is. And then when you begin your topic, do not feel rushed at all. Let's have really good dialogue and conversation. And we'll just pick up next week where it leaves off at the top of the hour.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And that was very, very good conversation. I wrote some words down that I think kind of can relate to the topic today, or just relate to life in general. But as we were talking, so always some good stuff happening here. Destination 8000. It's a company I started. I finally got it trademarked, I think, a couple weeks ago. And what Destination 8000 means is that when people climb Mount Everest, the last stop before they go for the summit is at 8,000 meters. And Destination 8000, the summit is yours. So in my business, what I do is I'm going to get you to 8,000 meters, but the summit is yours. You're going to get yourself to the summit. And there's a reason for that, because number one, when you, as any of us who've gone hiking or whatever, no matter how small or how large the hills, the mountains are, we've gotten to the summit and we've seen other summits. And we go, wow, I did this one. Can I do that one? And if you get there on your own, you're probably convinced already that you can do the next one. So Destination 8000, the summit is yours. I'm going to help equip you. In Mount Everest, they have some people called Sherpas, and the Sherpas are really good at this stuff, at the climbing thing. And that's what they do. They help all those wannabe climbers, all the serious climbers, or whoever. They help them get up to get where they need to get. So I'm your Sherpa on that journey. So
Keith, I know there's base camps.
Yes.
And then they go up. Is 8,000 feet where the base camps are, or is it up higher before the summit?
No, 8,000 meters. 8,000 meters is the last base camp. There are 4 base camps. It's the last one.
And I'm going to recommend to everybody, go on YouTube and Google Mount Everest videos, and you will see they're talking about the Sherpas, people that have lost their lives. This is an excellent name for your company. Yeah, go check out the Mount Everest YouTube videos.
Yeah, I was impressed. I was impressed. You can see I was impressed by it. That's just, using it as an example. And I've seen a lot of things. Been to 26 countries and I ain't never seen Mount Everest, but I don't have to see it to measure it.
Right.
So on that next slide, so that's me somewhere in San Diego. I don't really know where. My wife took me there. And sitting on my arm is a peregrine falcon. A peregrine falcon is the fastest animal on the face of the earth, period. They can, when they're diving for food, they can go as high as 200 miles per hour. All right. So when they see like a roadkill, or they see a live rabbit or whatever they see, when they go for it, they're going at 200 miles per hour, and they commit. Now, I don't think people need to commit to this point, but here's how much they commit. They lose peripheral vision. They don't have it. So they won't see the car coming as they go to get this carcass that's laying on the side of the road. They won't see anything else except what they're aiming for. And then when I think of commitment, I think, wow, if only people could learn to be that committed, keep some peripheral, but could learn to be, were that committed to something that I'm not even going to see the other distractions. I'm not going to see those other things that are popping up. I'm going for what I'm going for. So, and we have a case here on the next slide of a guy who probably, as close as someone can get to it, he probably did. Kieran Behan, born on April 19th, 1989. He was told that he would never walk again. He had a tumor removed from his leg, a cancerous tumor, at the age of 10. He's already thinking about being in the Olympics at the age of 10. I don't know, I'm sure he watched Olympics and he watched some things and watched people in action, and he thought, this is me. This is where I want to be. This is where I'm going. Well, the operation didn't go so well, so he was confined to a wheelchair for 15 months. Okay, but he's still dreaming of being in the Olympics. In the next one, please. So then he goes back to the gym. He gets back in the gym after 15 weeks in a wheelchair, and he slips from the high bar, and he gets a severe head injury. He's experiencing frequent blackouts. He actually had to retrain his brain to get his coordination back. That's how severely he was injured. He's still thinking about the Olympics. And so he returned to school using a cane, a walking stick, and was taunted by his classmates. And it's very easy when life taunts us, when people taunt us, when things taunt us. It's very easy to lose focus of what it is that I had in my sights. Okay, he was kind of like that falcon. His peripheral vision stayed. He didn't let his peripheral interfere. His vision stayed focused on he wanted to go to Olympics. So it took him 3 years to get back to where he had been before the accident. So when you count the time and the injuries, he's gone through a lot of stuff. Okay, next slide, please. Then he gets another accident. He snapped his knee after he'd been selected for the European Championships. Okay, that's time for us to quit. It's like, you know what, that rabbit ain't worth it. I'm going to find something else to eat, But the falcon doesn't do that. The falcon goes, no, that's my prey, and I'm going for it. Okay. So he never gave up, and then he succeeded in becoming in the Challenge World Cup floor champion in 2011, and then his greatest moment of glory happened when he qualified for the London 2012 Olympics. There's no history that says he got a medal, but he got to the Olympics. He got to where he was going, and I think we can all see the commitment in this guy. And so we could stay right here. We won't, but we could stay here and just investigate. What motivated him? How did he get that focused? What was it that made him stay with that? And we know he had to do other things. He had to work for a living. He had to feed himself, had to clothe himself. He had to go train. He had to do all these different things. I wonder what his life will look like. Okay. It must have been I'm sure it wasn't solid round. Okay. And in his life wheel, he still had that area. Richard has that one area on the life wheel that he says, the dot where you are and the dot where you like to get, and what's your action plan to get there. And so he had to have an action plan to get there. So as we move on, a couple of things here. The next slide, please, Rich. The first thing is, what is personal commitment? Now, and I use the word personal because there are different types of commitment. There's commitment to relationship. There's a commitment to your job. That's commitments to different things. When I talk to married couples, who have arguments once in a while. I'm sure none of you ever had arguments with your spouses, so you probably can't relate. But for those people who have, one of the things that I have to remind them is this is not between you and your spouse. This is between you and God. What's your personal commitment to you and your Creator? That's it, and then you act accordingly. And so personal commitment is different than just a general commitment. What's my personal commitment to whatever it is I'm pursuing? So a personal commitment, as you can read, I'm not going to read all the words for you, a dedication to a cause, a goal, or personal value, and characterized by strong determination to achieve it. And in both examples I gave you, you can see the strong determination that the falcon has. You can see the strong determination that Karen had. You can see the strong determination they had to get to where they were going. And so it differs from temporary motivation. You know, I listen to, I very rarely, I tell people, don't call me a motivational speaker. It's good that you say I motivate you. And I don't mean any harm, but motivation lasts for a moment. It can last for a week. It'll last until you get out of the place. You know, you sit there and you listen to someone like, you know, Ron Stark gives this really great speech about what you need to do and how you need to gird yourself up and etc. And you get all fired up as Ron is giving this speech. Can y'all see Ron doing that? You can see it, can't you? Yeah, okay. And then you do that and you walk out in the parking lot and it's 17 degrees. Okay. And you just want to get to your car. You want to get in, you want to heat up, but you don't think about it. You were motivated for the time that you heard Ron talk about it. And you might have been motivated for a couple of days, a week later. And some people hold on to it, but the vast majority of people don't hold on to that. So it has to be something that's internal. And why does it matter? Commitment serves as a foundation for success in both our personal, professional realms, influencing our ability to persevere. I will persevere through, let me see, a cancerous tumor being taken up my leg, persevere through falling off the high bar, not just the bar, the high bar, injuring myself, having frequent blackouts, which gave me, in fact, it said that he got like migraine headaches every time he blinked his eyes. Okay. So I persevered through that. I persevered through the kneecap thing. I persevered through all of it. That's what personal commitment would do for us. It will assist us in persevering to whatever the goal is that we truly have. I want to stop and say this. Commitment. Everybody has it. No one in the world lacks commitment. And if you just let me watch what you do for a month, I can tell you what you're committed to. Okay. So everybody has it. And the question is are we even aware that we have a commitment? And if we are we committed to the right things? And sometimes we have to hold our head in I don't want to say shame, maybe personal shame, because we know that we are committed to something that we shouldn't be, and we got to figure out how to get out of it. And you know, these meetings are great. We have some great lessons on that. You know, how to change your thinking. You know, how do I even reframe my thoughts so I can quit being committed to this. You know, some people are committed to homelessness. So all of us here have worked with veterans, but not only veterans. We work with different people, and we run into people who were committed to staying where they are. They weren't ready to move forward. Okay, so it matters because it serves as a foundation for success in our personal and professional realms. Next slide, please, Rich. And somebody mentioned Simone Biles as we in this earlier conversation. You know, remember Simone Biles when she backed out of in the Olympics? She backed out and said, "I can't do this." She had some mental things she was dealing with. And I remember some people got on her and, they didn't understand. What was kind of startling to me is the very same people who say, when you got an issue, deal with it. And I got your back. Well, she dealt with it and she got criticism for dealing with it. So she had to get her confidence back. She had to come back to get up on the beam. And so she was committed. She got back up on the beam and she got gold again. She went and got gold. Okay, that's what commitment would do. So go ahead on, Yogi.
And about the commitment and about you mentioning that people always say, "Hey, if you need something, I'm here for you." In my short journey transitioning, I've found that a lot of veterans are upset and hurt because as soon as the door closes, when you're out of the service, everyone that volunteered and said, "Hey, I'm here for you. Anything you need, please let me know."
Mm-hmm.
That door closes essentially, and it's very painful to see. I've never felt that way because I have you guys, so I'm thankful for that. But it is one of those things, and it does hurt because there is all that criticism also that happens, right? And some veterans that are going through the transition themselves, they say, "Well, I didn't have this problem, so you are the problem," right?
Yeah. So, thanks for that, Yogi. Along with what you're saying, I think each of us have been let down before. And so the question is, did it derail us, or did it make us understand that we are the one that had to be committed to where we're headed? That it's up to us. It's not up to that other person. Whatever was happening in their life, whatever it was that drove them to not come through for me, whatever it was that drove that. Still, what about my own personal commitment to it? So Yogi and Maurice, go for it.
I still
Sorry
had it
about-
up from last
go ahead,
time.
Yogi.
Oh,
My
Maurice,
bad.
and Pete. Maurice and Pete.
All right. So let's let Pete go first, and then I'll go after Pete. Go ahead, Pete.
In my experience in having the loss of my parents early on, it was my commitment that helped solidify my purpose. And throughout life, it's my parents I reflect back on because of their contributions. And so I'd like to add, if via permission with Keith, I believe that commitment helps solidify your purpose. Regardless of what others think of you, if you know yourself, that commitment will help solidify your purpose and see you through. Thank you, Pete.
You know what, Pete? And Maurice, I'll get you in a second. But you know what, Pete? It's a circle, because the commitment will help solidify your purpose, and your purpose will help you with your commitment. Okay? Once you find that purpose, it's a circle. Yes, Maurice, you want to go?
Yeah, let's let Yogi go first.
Okay.
So the Power of Habit, the book, it talks about that what you do, regardless of what and how you're doing it, is what's going to take you somewhere too, right? And I love the fact that you're saying that it is a two for the price of one, right? If you focus on where you're going and just keep on going, no matter what, adversity, tenacity, whatever it is that you want to call it, you're going to get there, right? But on the other hand, if you just keep on doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, no matter what you think or where you think you're trying to go, you're going to be stuck doing those things.
So go ahead, Pete. Go ahead and respond if you want to, Keith. Go ahead.
No, I'm just going to say, I think in a case like that, Yogi, I think you are committed to failure. You are committed to not seeing things through, when that happens. Go ahead on, Maurice.
So two things. I wanted to honor you by I changed my background, if you noticed, to the summit of Mount Everest. So that's the 8,000-foot summit right there in the background there. So
all right, cool.
in recognition of that. And then the other thing, just again on the topic, is I think there was a saying by one of the philosophers, Talmud, where he says that we say things not as they are, but as we are. And so we're always coming at it from our perspective. It's that filter, it's that thing that we were talking about earlier. Everybody's always going to have these filters, and they're going to screen it based upon who they are, what they know. And in many cases, they may not see the real big picture, but they see a picture. And so, again, it's all about how do you open eyes, even when it comes to motivation, perseverance. All that depends on where you came from, how you were trained. Just because we give a class on motivation doesn't mean everybody sees the same thing.
Yeah.
Charlie's got his hand up, and then Ron's got his hand up.
Go for it, Charlie.
Yeah. I think why am I doing what I'm doing plays a huge role in persistence.
Man, Charlie, the why. Lately in life, Charlie, why has become a lot of conversation I'm in. What's the why behind it?
Yes.
That why is huge. I agree with you.
Exactly.
Ron's got his hand up.
Yeah, Keith, I'm a real fan of motivational interviewing as a way of dealing with things. And a lot of people confuse that as a fan of motivational interviewing, I have to motivate people. It's exactly the opposite. Is you're really teaching people how to see their own personal motivations, and I think motivation is an inside job, because you used me as an example. If I'm a motivational speaker, all I'm doing is entertaining for the moment to get someone to entertain thoughts about their own motivations. Because in treatment, we say, if it's my idea, the client's job is to reject it. If it's the client's idea, the client will give their whole life and identity for it.
Charlie's got his hand up.
Yeah, I agree that motivation is within. We can all inspire someone, and inspiration comes from, I like what I'm hearing, I'm inspired, but true motivation comes within. So I agree with Ron.
Yeah, it's an inside job. Being motivated, it should be an inside job. What motivates you from inside out? Outside in is okay. I mean, listening to Ron's speech, that's awesome. But what did I get from it that I can apply internally? To help me move forward. So we only got.
You're at the 2-minute mark.
Yes. So this is our last slide for today, and I think Richard was. It's kind of like a fortune teller. He's able to see that. Okay.
Oh yeah. Once you open up the can of worms and say, let's talk about it. And I do have a couple of comments. One question is, are there different degrees of commitment? And because I say, like, if someone, the extent someone does what they say they're going to do is integrity. But I see some people, there might be different personal degrees of commitment. Like someone might say, oh, I'm committed to you, or I'm committed to do this. And then a week later, it's like, what happened to that commitment? So my question for me is, when I say I'm committed to something, I'm making a commitment, what am I signing up for? It seems like that opens up a whole algorithm and a checklist of, if you're making a commitment, it goes from, being responsible, sticking with it, researching, maybe that sort of thing. Wonder what some people's thoughts are on that.
Well, we only have 1 minute to find out.
So one of the things I think about it, Rich, is that the degrees of commitment, it was in the earlier conversation, we talked about people going to school and they were pursuing this particular thing, and then they saw something else and they wanted to pursue that. And sometimes it's a good thing, because you see something really is not a fit for you. Sometimes people just have not settled. Their level of commitment was not that high. They haven't settled on what it really is they want to do, and they're still in search mode. They haven't figured it out. Maurice, go on, please.
Well, I'm going to close it out and just say that it all comes back to finding your purpose. Once you know, then that's when you can fully commit. But if you don't know, if you're still in search of, it's just a spin. It's just spinning around trying to find it. And so great topic. Rich, you want to close us out?
Sure. That takes us to a great point today. We'll pick up again next week, and then this is going to start dovetailing us into a new look at goal setting and more effective goal setting. So thank you everyone for joining this week. Come on back next week, and have a great, blessed week.
Yeah,
all right,
thank you.
Guys. Take care.
Love you, fam. Bye.
Great topic. You bet. Now, take care, gents. Have a great weekend.
Okay.